interpreter. Today we are going to talk about the Code of Ethics and the national and California standards. But before we start, we get to talk about what ethics mean. The word ethics comes from the Greek word ethos, which means moral custom. What is a moral custom? This is a principle, what is right, good, wrong, appropriate, and acceptable behavior in a certain ambient. So, code of ethics are principles that help you know what is appropriate in a certain field. Okay, so California ethics and national standards of practice describe what is appropriate in the interpreter profession and in the interpreter role. So the standards are practices and guidelines that define what interpreter does, the standards and best practice to meet the obligation for interpreter profession, right? That's the standard. The code of ethics instead, they're guidelines for moral judgment about what is acceptable as a behavior in a certain context. So guys, the code of ethics are necessary and they serve to follow better the best standards of practice. All right, so no matter where you work in America, in which field, all of the trainings will be based on national standards and codes of ethics. And all of them are different. California is slightly different, but all of them are based on the national standards. There is 4 states in America that have slightly differences, but all the codes are based on the national standard practices. Okay, let's start with the first. There are different codes of ethics. There is different in California, there is different in national, and I'm gonna create a sort of videos that gonna talk about the most important ones, or the ones that you're gonna find everywhere and you should follow no matter in what field you work in order to be professional. Today's class is gonna be about accuracy. What accuracy means in interpreting? Accuracy means that interpreters should interpret or convey the message, the content, meaning to meaning, interpreting everything that is said faithfully, which means without adding, omitting, substituting, or changing nothing, and without filtering. What this means, in order to be ethically accurate, this means that the interpreter has to convey the content, the spirit, and anything in the context that can add meaning in order to be accurate. Which means if there is cursing, if there is rudeness, if there is madness, any kind of gesture that then can add meaning, in order to be accurate, the interpreter should render it. Okay, in order to be accurate, I will give a few, probably 7 rules how to be accurate in order to self-monitor ourselves. Number 1, we have to render all messages, everything, completely. I repeat again, accurate means to render everything. Number 2, when we do the pre-session, we have to advise that we're gonna say everything that is said. When we intervene, if necessary, in any kind of situation, we have to do it transparently. Interpreter speaking, that means intervene transparently, not just asking a question. Interpreter need a clarification. We had a special video about how to ask a question, how to clarify. You can press on this button and find out more about that. The interpreter, in order to be accurate, have to replicate like the tone of the voice, transfer the emotions, the anger, the register. If it's a high register, high register. If it's a low register, low register, right? Interpreter has to constantly self-monitor. This is number 5. Self-monitor themselves. If they make an error, have to admit it immediately. Correct? In order to be that, interpreter have to constantly self-monitor themselves to be honest and authentic. You have to immediately correct a mistake. Okay? Number 6, interpreter have to manage the flow of the session. If it's necessary to pause, to repeat, go ahead, madam. There is a special video how to manage the flow of the session. You can click and find out here about that. And number 7, interpreter have to render completely everything that it says, verbal and non-verbal, completely. Everything that has meaning. As an interpreter, in order to be accurate, you have to render it, clarify, offer a cultural clarification. That's what accurate means. Okay, guys, so we give the 7 bases of an accuracy, which were render all message, pre-session, intervene, replicate, self-monitoring, manage the flow of the session, and completely render everything, verbal and non-verbal. So in order to do that, remind you again, we had the basis of what is incremental intervention. In order to be accurate, we have to manage the flow of the session and manage the interpreter roles from conduct to clarifier and back in transparent way. Guys, remember, out of interpreting and out of the language interpretation, you are there to solve problem. And this is not only a linguistic problem, but this is the reason why the lab is calling. Maybe they want to make a reservation, they want to talk to a doctor about medicine, they're having some issues. So the main goal as a message conveyor and accuracy is to make sure, guys, you are useful, not just repeating the words. Here I would always like to add one of the core values of mirror interpretation, Todorova, which is called post-worthy. Post-worthy mean in accurate interpretation, guys, you can be the key of a problem solving. You can be that source that make it easy by clarifying the meaning of something, adding some cultural meaning, some gestural meaning, and so on, which can help understand a problem or situation better. So post-worthy, number 1, it's feeling good with yourself as an interpreter, because by solving problems, you help other people and you feel satisfaction from your profession. That's number 1 post-worthy for you. Number 2 post-worthy, you can be for the person that you interpret for by helping them solve their problem, reactivate their insurance or any other kind of issue that they call about, refill their medicine. They're thankful to you and you feel worthy because you help others and you see self-value. This is number 2 post-worthy. And number 3, the provider appreciate your effort. The provider appreciation. So that was my first class about code of ethics and how to be accurate. Thank you for being here, guys. I hope that video was useful for you. Please press like, subscribe, comment, and let me know if there's anything else you'd like me to make a video about. Thank you and have a great day. Bye-bye.